Hey, I'm John Cannell, and today on Preppy Kitchen, we're making an easy, delicious turkey meatloaf. So let's get started. First off, you have a little bit of prep work to do. Grab an onion, we're gonna use about half of that. We're gonna give this onion a quick chop. I grew up with meatloaf on the regular weekly rotation. I love using ground turkey in recipes, it's really versatile. Set that aside, and the only other thing you need is 4 cloves of garlic minced. You could measure with your heart and add more if desired. And I don't feel like mincing, so today I'm gonna use a garlic press. At this point, you should preheat your oven to 325 Fahrenheit, grab a rimmed baking sheet and spray it with cooking spray. Grab a medium skillet, and we're gonna place this over medium heat. Add about 2 tablespoons of olive oil to your pan. We want to heat this up so it's shimmering, and then we can add the onions. Along with half a teaspoon of salt. You're gonna cook the onions, stirring occasionally until they're tender and a light brown color. If things got out of hand and your onions are on the cusp of burning, add a couple tablespoons of water in, stir that up, and it'll deglaze the pan, cool things down, and steam the onions to soften. So it's kind of a little hack for people who get distracted in the kitchen. By the way, if you like my videos, hit that subscribe button. There's 2 new recipes and more shorts every single week. So meatloaf in one form or another has been popular since ancient times, like ancient Rome had their own version of meatloaf. But during the Great Depression and World War II, meatloaf became way more popular in the US, in part because it was an easy way to feed families with limited resources, and you can take the meat and add more breadcrumbs to it to kind of stretch it, so you're using less of the expensive ingredients to feed the family. All right, these are lightly browned. It's time to get our garlic in. So pop that in. Cook the garlic for about 2 minutes until it's fragrant. Stir constantly. You do not want this to burn. Onions and garlic, the way to my heart. After 2 minutes, take this off heat and you can transfer this to a plate or bowl to cool down quickly. While my onions and garlic cool to room temperature, we're gonna add 1 cup of panko breadcrumbs into a large bowl. Could you use regular breadcrumbs? Of course. That's 60 grams if you're using a scale. To my breadcrumbs, I'm adding half a cup or 120 mils of whole milk. Stir together and let that stand for about 5 minutes so the panko breadcrumbs can absorb the milk and you'll get a nice juicy meatloaf. Nobody wants a dry, flavorless meatloaf. That would be sad. While this soaks, your onions will cool and you'll be ready for the next step. If you're short on time, you don't have to wait the full 5 minutes and your onions could be on the warmer side, so don't worry if you're in a rush. Meatloaf is so versatile. You could make it almost anything you want. Here we're gonna add some herbs. You could add up to a teaspoon of thyme or rosemary. You could add a couple teaspoons of parsley. It's really up to you. Like, what do you have on hand and what do you enjoy? I'm adding in some thyme today. If you want some sharpness or acidity, you could add a teaspoon or so of apple cider vinegar. You could add some lemon zest. Add your favorites in so the recipe feels like it's your own. I'm adding a little lemon zest. When I make turkey patties for hamburgers, it's a very similar setup. I add a lot of lemon zest, tons of herbs, and there's Worcestershire there too. Same thing for turkey meatballs. To help hold things together, I'm adding 2 large eggs in. 1 and 2. 2 more tablespoons of olive oil. A tablespoon or so of Worcestershire sauce. Or a full bottle, I really like it, so that's where I'm at. I also would like a teaspoon of salt. If you went heavy on the Worcestershire sauce, you could use less salt. And a teaspoon of cracked pepper. I like ground turkey, but it needs flavor added to it. Break the eggs up, and we're gonna give this a good stir. It's time to add 2 pounds of ground turkey here. I suggest you use the fattier dark meat ground turkey, not turkey breast. That is too lean. And don't forget your cooked onions and garlic. We need to mix this. The best way is with your clean hands. So make sure they're clean, and we're gonna give it a good mix. Without compressing the turkey, we want this to be kind of on the lighter side, so not compacted together. Okay. I like to turn my hand into a large fork and just mix. Turn things around in the bowl, just make sure that there's no wall of breadcrumbs on one side. You want this evenly mixed. Okay, that looks great. It's gonna look even better once it's cooked. Plop this right onto your prepared baking sheet, and we're gonna shape this into our loaf. If you don't like the idea of hand shaping it, spray a 9x5" loaf pan and gently press that in. You will need to add about 5 to 10 minutes of bake time. Shaped into a beautiful loaf, it's time to wash your hands. For our sauce, 1.5 cups of ketchup, that's about 350 grams or so. We're gonna add 1 more tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce. Here, you could add powdered onion, powdered garlic, more herbs, brown sugar. You're making a version of barbecue sauce, so you could just use barbecue sauce out of the fridge if that's more convenient, or you like the flavor more. Give it a good mix. All mixed up, we're gonna pour 1/2 cup of this onto our turkey meatloaf. Cover and reserve the rest. Brush that over the top, get some nice coverage. This is giving us a good seal for baking so nothing dries out. And we have extra flavor. Brushed all over, we're ready to pop this into the oven, 325 for 30 minutes, and then we're gonna pull it out and do some more brushing. Once out of the oven, we're gonna brush with half of the remaining ketchup mixture. If you wanted to, you could brush with the remaining and then just serve as is. The point is that we're reserving some of it to serve with the meatloaf later. Your turkey meatloaf will last 5 days in the fridge in an airtight container, or up to 2 months in the freezer. Just make sure it's well sealed. Once out of the oven, let your meatloaf rest for 15 minutes so it stays nice and juicy. Resting is also important so your meatloaf holds its shape after cutting. Then you can give it a cut, and just like that, it's ready to enjoy. It's juicy, full of flavor, totally moist, and really delicious. I hope you had a chance to make this easy recipe, and if you like my videos, hit that subscribe button and check out my easy dinner playlist.